Yeah. It looks like Kevin Phillips, doesn't it? The
A little, yeah.
Sunderland striker.
But then the
honestly,
Italian
Andy,
tracksuit.
I couldn't believe it this week when I saw that. And then, of course, what he looks like now.
Which is nothing like that.
Which is nothing like that. He spent a lot of money.
Best ever, that one.
Growing that.
The best ever.
It has to be, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's the best ever. Yeah.
Just goes to show, if you're thinking, would you have done?
Nah.
In your pump?
Oh, if I was mid-20s?
Yes.
A lot of money?
Yes.
Losing my hair?
Yes.
Yes. Too late now.
John Cross joins us live from Arsenal's training ground. Now, John, what about by the end of the season? Will Conte still be Chelsea's manager? Well, actually, let me ask a different question there, John. Will he be their manager at the start of next season?
No, I don't think so. I think that Chelsea are planning and looking elsewhere. I think it's a great shame. I think that Conte is a character. To do what he did in his first season was remarkable. To win the Premier League with that squad, go on that incredible winning run, to blow people away with really good performances. I think it's a shame. But there's two sides to Conte. Conte is an incredibly engaging character, really good football manager, clearly. But he is a high-maintenance manager, and that's part of the issue, I think, with transfers. I think that Chelsea have found it quite difficult at times to keep him happy. I think he emerges from long meetings about transfer targets with Chelsea people believing that he would never be happy with the sort of the deals. And that's his reputation throughout his career. And I think he will move on at the end of the season. I think it was so telling last summer when they didn't extend his contract. They just rewarded him with a bigger contract.
So they'll both be happy with that, John, will they? Sorry, John, is that a decision that both Chelsea and Conte will be happy with?
Yeah, I feel that they've almost come to a natural conclusion.
Yeah.
And I think there's an acceptance on both sides, which maybe makes it easier. I can't help but feel that in Conte sounding off about Mourinho in that wonderful managerial spat that we've got going on at the moment, that part of Conte's thinking is that basically he just doesn't care.
Yeah.
He can say what he likes because he knows that at the end of the season he'll be leaving the Premier League. And I do think that that's part of his destructive approach to it, because he realises that he doesn't care. He's not going to sort of kind of, have sort of regrets about it or be sort of, come back to haunt him later on, simply because he'll be off.
John, yes, it's fascinating. And, of course, if these guys didn't talk, there'd be no need for you or me or any of the rest of us. But has this one not become a little bit undignified? It's not good, is it?
Listen, I wouldn't say it's not good. I think it's really entertaining. For me personally, I think it's the most fascinating spat and the most aggressive spat that I've ever known in the Premier League era, and that includes Wenger v Mourinho and Mourinho v whoever it might be, and Ferguson v Wenger in the past, because they're both at it and they both won't back down. And I would agree with the other point is that it's not particularly dignified. And I think part of the concern at Man United was about their behaviour or otherwise of Jose Mourinho when they hired him. And I do think that will be a concern. They won't like, I don't think, United are a club with style and grace, both on and off the pitch. And there's a certain group, I think, of United hierarchy, if you like, that won't be enjoying this.
Agreed.
I won't forget this. Understand?
Slightly menacing now.
Getting tasty. I won't forget.
Exactly.
I won't forget this.
I know.
Getting very tasty. It has to stop though. That is not good for the game. That is not a good image of the game. If management and officials want the players to behave, the managers have got to do the same thing. It's interesting for us to watch.
It is. You can't like all your opponents. I mean, Alan, you stood in that the technical area long enough. There must have been some that you. Yeah, absolutely. Quite a few you don't like.
But if you come out and say things like that, it's only going to lead to a fine.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if the league managers or the Premier League have stepped in and said, hold on, let's just calm it down, because there's allegations, accusations, etc. And what is happening now is, as the two boys are going in to do their press conferences, they're being asked these sort of questions, not talking about the game, not talking about the club, it's got to stop. And I think that Conte, I think he started, you know, when they beat Chelsea, when Chelsea beat Man United 4-0, was it something like that? And Mourinho was in his ear for about a couple of minutes, and sort of like the school teacher telling him off. And I think he should have took exception to that one. You know, sort of like, you know, I'm at home, I've just won 4-0, I'm entitled to celebrate.
You can do whatever you like.
And who are you talking to? You know, but then I think Conte then said something that I don't want to do with Mourinho. What he meant was, they won the Premier League last year, and he didn't want to struggle this year. He didn't think his squad was good enough, and he said that's what happened to Mourinho when Chelsea won the league with Mourinho, and they struggled the next year. And then Mourinho sort of said, well, you don't want to do a Mourinho, what? Win the European Cup twice and win the league so many times, and that's how it's just kicked on from there.
So really, he's just bitten Conte now, hasn't it? Mourinho has eventually got him into the ring. That's really where we're at.
And
they don't think but the fight's not until the end of February. That's the thing.
I think he got him into the ring, but hit him with a really low blow.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I think it was below the belt, wasn't it? Yeah. Well, weird. They say it's personal.
John, Chelsea have, I was going to say they've nicked Ross Barkley.
You would be right.
You know, well, yeah. for what we quote, 15 million? How come the agent earns 7 million out of a deal where Ross Barkley, if you asked him, would have driven himself to London and done the deal on his own? How can the agent possibly justify 7 million?
Well, I do. Look, I think the agent market is changing. And I feel if you're going to sell your house, you use an estate agent. I think the scale of the fee, I guess, is surprising. I personally don't have a great deal of sort of unrest about it, I must say. And to see the Mayor of Liverpool get involved in it is just, I thought, was beyond a farce. I thought it was embarrassing. Surely he's got more pressing things to deal with. Look, football is high finance, and we know that. And I think that the agent, has done the deal. He's got into Chelsea. If you'd asked me, say, 4 weeks ago, I would have said he's going to be a Spurs player. And I think the fact then that he's gone to Chelsea, is that kind of, reflected in the agent fee? I don't really know, but I just feel that Barkley's an outstanding talent. For Chelsea to get him for £15 million is a sickener for Everton, because he's such a great, young English player, and I do think he's got potential still to get to the World Cup if he can get enough games in. I mean, he's got a long way to get back into form and back into the team, but I think he'll play games at Chelsea. This myth that he won't get a look in at Chelsea, I think is just that is exactly what it is, a myth. I mean, you can't tell me that Barkley won't do any worse than Bakayoko. I mean, Bakayoko's been an awful signing in my view so far. £40 million.
No, stop sitting on the fence, Hugh.
Now you see, John.
Well, it's ridiculous. What is he? I just don't understand what he is. What does he do? He doesn't sort of shield. He doesn't sit. He doesn't attack. He doesn't score. I don't know what he does.
See, I've got some sympathy with the Mayor of Liverpool, who loves his football club, who saw a situation in the summer where Ross Barkley could have gone to Chelsea but decided not to. Exactly. Subsequently turns up in January with a reduced fee. The agent has made a nice few quid. May just all be coincidence. But yeah, you sell your house, John, you sell with an agent at 1.25%. I mean, these boys are, Kia Jarabkian, what has he made out of Coutinho's move to Barcelona? Maybe justifiably so, but that's what smacks and sticks in the throat with football fans, isn't it? The extraordinary money these boys are I was going to use another word, I better not, are taking from deals.
Yeah, and listen, I'd agree with that. Mino Raiola, the sort of the money that went with, for example, Pogba and various deals, Lukaku. Again, it is remarkable the percentage that they take out of the deals. But and therefore, and you hit the nail on the head, Richard. That basically that's the disconnect. The biggest thing for me, the biggest concern is the disconnect between the average paying punter and what he pays for his season ticket. And then he's saying, "Hang on, some of my money is going into that agent fee," and that's your issue. But in the grand scheme of things, in the big business world that is football and makes the world go round, I'm sorry, but the best agents do get the deals done. And sometimes they're very difficult deals to broker, and you pay them for expertise. And like it or loathe it, agents will command bigger, in my view, bigger and bigger fees. It's not going to be something that gets addressed and gets reduced. I think the agent fees will actually increase, especially in an age when I think that we will see many more clubs and players of their own free will running down contracts. So you'll see far more free agents, and people might, like myself and other journalists, might sort of say, oh, it's mismanagement, it's poor management of contracts. It's not. It's actually a conscious decision to take them to the end of the contract, sign them for what they're worth, then pay the contract and then let them go. And I think increasingly you will see many more agents actually command more figures, because they will be even more important when they're signing and taking free transfers to big clubs.
Just a thought, maybe FIFA Pro are right. Maybe we should disband the whole transfer system altogether.
Yeah.
It'll get like that.
I think that's got a logic.
Yeah.
I do think that's got a logic, and I think bigger clubs will go down that road, and they will basically write off that £90 million, because the £90 million gets lost up in the contract and the wages anyway, you know, for whatever that star signing might be. I know it sounds crazy now, but all of a sudden we are talking about a whole new world of price levels for signings. And I think the bigger clubs will willfully run down those contracts and let those players go on free transfers.
Extraordinary. John Cross, as ever, thank you.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, guys.
Ross Barkley, he's a good prospect. He's 24.
Yep.
You'll still be a good prospect at 24, or have you got to be a good player at 24?
Well, it's a strange one, because when you analyse Ross Barkley, when he broke onto the scene a few years ago, he caught everybody's attention. Good styles, drive with the ball, good skill, changing directions. He's got a lot of tools, but he hasn't been consistent, creating chances and scoring goals, and he hasn't been a regular last year in the Everton team, even when he was fit. So there's question marks when I've watched him about application. Sometimes he doesn't look fired up, doesn't really look like he wants the ball. When I watch a Paul Gascoigne, a Scholes, they want the ball, body language, give me the ball, and if they don't get it, they're screaming at their teammates. Sometimes I watch him and it's like easy Ozzy, he's not had a touch for a while, he's not too bored, and when he does give it away sometimes, it's like he's got instead of I'll win it straight back. So lots of good things in his game, but lots of things needs to improve. Now, from a manager and a coach's point of view, you'll see his good things, and you'll see the things, you know what, maybe I can make him better. And Conte and all good coaches.
Depends how long Antonio Conte's going to be there for a start.
Well, that's another thing.
And where does Barkley, you know, what sort of move is it for Tony? You know, he's going to get less football at Chelsea, not more football, isn't he?
He will get less football, yeah. I think it's good that he's actually got out of Liverpool. That's where he's grown up. He was straight in the first team. He's the next big star, and it hasn't quite worked out for him. So I think he could have had easier moves, if you like. He's gone to Chelsea. It's going to be tough for him. How's he going to get into that side? He needs to learn the defensive side of his game as well. He needs to have a lot more discipline. He needs to raise the level of his performances. So there's a lot of question marks, but I always go back to he's English, he's still 24. 15 million, what do you get for 15 million these days? Conte's got another player in the squad, and he thinks this is a gamble worth taking, because if I can get Barkley back to doing the good things going forward, I can work out the other bits that will make him a real top player. So I think it's a gamble worth taking for sure. And for Barkley himself, he needs to grasp it, he really does. It's a great opportunity.
Big risk for Barkley as well.
Yeah.
Because he's not played for a year, he's injured. He's going to a team full of international players. Competition is rife. If he doesn't play, that might be another year, 2 years without playing football. Yep. And no matter what anybody says, it's not about wages. It's about playing 90 minutes. That magical feeling when you walk out the tunnel, full stadium. That's what being a professional footballer is all about. And there's so many big squads and so many footballers week in, week out, picking up big wages and not getting a game. I would hate that. I would not be a happy boy.
If you're not playing every week.
If you're not playing. So he's going to a club, but I would think he's going to be on the bench at best, and no maybe first choice coming on. So he's got a lot of work to do. It's a risk. His agent's probably delighted because his agent's probably filled his pockets as well. But is it the right move for Ross Barkley? I would say no. I would rather have seen him going to a club where he's going to be a regular. But that's me.